There was a small village surrounded by mountains and fertile farmland. In that village lived Amaka. Her father was King David, and Amaka was his eldest daughter. She was known to be a kind and good-hearted princess. However, among the villagers, she faced a particular challenge. Amaka was unusually tall and strong for a princess, towering over most like a giant. From birth, an illness caused her to grow at an excessive rate, which set her apart from her peers. Despite her gentle nature, her great stature frightened the villagers. Over time, her muscular physique became even more apparent, standing out to everyone in the village. Because of her intimidating appearance, Amaka had trouble finding acceptance among the villagers. Mothers were quick to push their children away from her, and young men avoided her. Her size discouraged her, as she was unable to attract any suitors for marriage. Everyone was afraid of having someone so big and strong as a wife. This was a significant problem for King David, as he could not count on a male heir. He only had Amaka and Precious, his second daughter. Therefore, it was vital that Amaka got married to ensure an heir to the throne. This put a lot of pressure on Amaka to marry and secure her father's future. However, she found it difficult, as her imposing physique seemed to repel suitors. She often felt that she was cursed to be in this difficult situation, but she still remained compassionate and helpful towards her people, helping her village. However, loneliness and disappointment affected her deeply, and she often sought solace in escapes to the woods, where she could cry and connect with nature when she felt sad. One day, while she was sobbing, she heard a loud scream that interrupted her crying. She tried intently to locate the source of the sound. "Help, please," cried a male voice. Amaka rushed towards the sound and, upon arriving, found a handsome hunter trapped under a fallen tree. "How did you end up trapped under this tree?" Amaka asked. "I was just walking and... Oh, please help me first, and then I'll tell you," replied the hunter. "Okay, of course," Amaka replied. With his great strength, he lifted the tree as if it were light and removed it from his body. Amaka helped the hunter up and asked again, "Now that you're free, how did you get trapped?" "These kinds of things don't happen often," the hunter laughed. "You're right, they're not common. I was on my daily hunt when I saw a large antelope I'd never encountered before. I followed it for a while until I managed to corner it and pointed my gun at it. Unfortunately, the place was full of animal droppings, and when I went to shoot, I slipped," he explained. The noise spooked the antelope, which ran away. I chased it, but accidentally ran into a weakened tree while running. I followed its path, but as I got closer, the tree collapsed on me. "Funny how I tried to catch the antelope and ended up trapped by a tree," the hunter commented. "That's a funny story," Amaka laughed. "I bet you have many adventures hunting." "Yes, many. By the way, what's your name, brave lady?" "Do I owe you my life?" the hunter asked. "I am Amaka, the princess of this place." "And you?" Amaka replied. "Delighted, Princess Amaka." "Of course. I must say, you are the beautiful giant princess of our land." "You look familiar," Dyke said. "I am Dyke, son of Nwake and grandson of Dimpa, the high priest of our community." Amaka blushed in surprise and asked, "Do you think I'm beautiful?" "Of course, you're one of the most beautiful women here," Dyke told her. "This is the first time anyone has called me beautiful," Amaka replied. "Normally, people make fun of my height and strength. Most guys avoid approaching me." "Well, I think you're beautiful. Those others don't know what they're talking about," Dyke assured her. Amaka blushed even more, smiling. "What are you doing in the forest, princess? You don't look like someone who hunts like us peasants." "No, I'm really just looking for a moment alone in nature," Amaka said. "For the record, I don't consider hunters peasants." "You are brave and honorable," he said. "It seems you come to the woods because you are lonely," Dyke added. "You are right. I usually look for a secluded spot where no one will see me. And yes, the forest is the only place where I find solace, surrounded by animals." "After all, I am like a beast," Amaka commented. "Don't say that." No, you are beautiful. From now on, I will be your friend," Dyke replied. "I will never judge you by your size. And you won't be alone next time you come." Amaka's eyes sparkled with joy as she realized she had found her first friend. Thus, Dyke and Amaka spent the rest of the day chatting and laughing. Amaka felt a connection she had never experienced, as if someone valued her true essence, ignoring her great stature. As night fell, she said goodbye to Dyke and ran to the palace, promising to return the next day. She entered the house quietly, taking care that no one would hear her. But when she reached her room, she found her sister Precious sitting on her bed. Precious was a wicked and competitive sister, much more beautiful. She attracted all the suitors and boasted of several boyfriends. In addition, she enjoyed belittling Amaka, boasting of her affairs with men. When Precious saw Amaka enter, she began to attack. "Hello, sister. How was your day? You seem to have been having a lot of fun. Don't you know that you are dishonoring the family by going out into the forest? What would you do if someone saw you acting like a savage? It's bad that you look like a beast. At least don't act like one. Let's not talk about how you've worried Dad. Go tell him you're back and apologize for running away," Amaka told her, to which Precious replied, "Wait a minute. You've been treating me like I don't know what you're doing. I don't like you calling me a beast. I told you not to label me like that. How do you know I was in the forest and that Dad knew about it?" Precious replied, "It's not hard to get information. The guards always inform, especially if I threaten to tell Dad. You're dishonoring our family. I think it would be only fair for the king to know the reason his subjects despise you. You, his beast of a daughter, running rampant through the village," he declared. Amaka persisted. "How many times have I told you not to call me that?" "Oh, I forgot. But go and tell father you're back. He's worried about you." Amaka then approached her father, King David, and explained her absence, as Precious had suggested. As she walked to his chambers, she felt nervous with every step. Her heart pounded as she approached. All she could think about was how disappointing it had been for her father that she had not attracted suitors or secured an heir. And now with this escapade, every time she thought about it, her stomach twisted, but she moved forward toward the king's chambers. When she arrived, she and her father glanced at each other briefly. The king was arguing with an advisor. She waited patiently for them to finish. When they were done, King David called out to her, "Why do you sometimes give me these scares? I was worried about you. Why have you been running away to the forest during the day? You are a princess." The king reproached her. "Father, I am sorry if I failed you. I have been running away to the forest for a long time. I know it is not right, but I feel at peace there. Every minute in the palace reminds me of how dishonorable I am to you, our family, and our kingdom. I know you are disappointed, but please understand," Amaka replied. "I am not angry, just worried," King David replied. "I have no objections to you exploring our kingdom. You will be the one to inherit it when I am gone, but you must be safe. Please, Papa, don't stop me from going to the forest today." "I made a friend," he insisted. "Who is he?" "His name is Dyke, son of Nwake and grandson of Dimpa, the greatest priest in the area," Amaka replied. "A hunter, son of the legendary priest." "I'm happy for you," the king said. "You have my permission to see him, but you must go with the guard." "Okay," the king said immediately. Amaka was overjoyed. "Thank you, Dad. I will always take a guard with me in the future. I will go to the forest. You will have nothing more to worry about," he assured her. "Be careful. At least I hope your new friend isn't dangerous," the king said. "No, Dad, I promise. Good night." Amaka came out of her room excitedly. Precious had overheard the conversation and didn't like what she heard between her sister and her father. So, hearing Amaka leave, he quickly returned to his room. The next day, Amaka took a guard as promised and went into the forest to see Dyke. Upon arriving, Dyke was surprised to see that he had a guard. "Is it because you think I'm dangerous?" he asked. No, it's not that," Amaka replied. "My father heard that I came without security and urged me to take one, because I am royalty." "I certainly do not fear you," Dyke told him. At this, Dyke felt more at ease, and they spent the day talking and hunting. It turned out that Amaka had a natural gift for hunting, just like Dyke, and they shared hobbies, dreams, and values. Over time, they saw each other daily. Each meeting was better than the last. This new friendship had a noticeable impact on Amaka's emotional well-being. Amaka, who was once sad and deeply depressed, now always radiated joy and hope, returning from her trips to the forest refreshed and happy. Everyone in the palace noticed the change in her mood, especially King David. However, there was someone in the palace who detested Amaka's new state: her sister Precious. Precious loved Amaka being sad and alone, as it ensured her own goal. Ever since they were little, Precious had been jealous of the attention her parents gave Amaka because of her circumstances. From a young age, she had envied Amaka's right to inherit the throne, hoping that her sister's marriage would be delayed so she could take that place. When she realized that Amaka and Dyke's friendship was growing and could turn into love or marriage, she became worried about their future. She thought she had to act fast before her plans were thwarted. So the next morning, after Amaka left to see Dyke, she went to confront her father. Upon arriving, she stood before her father, King David, as he spoke with his advisors. Instead of waiting, Precious interrupted. "Father, excuse my intrusion. I have something very important to discuss," she said. "What is so urgent that you would interrupt me and my counsel without warning?" The king replied. "It is a matter of life and death," Precious insisted. "I understand. My dear advisors, please be patient. I need to speak with my daughter," the king said, dismissing the advisors. He then asked, "What is so critical?" Precious replied, "Father, neither you nor Amaka are getting any younger. The throne needs a successor. Amaka has not found a suitor in years, and according to our traditions, she cannot inherit the throne without a husband. She has failed as a woman and as an heir. I know it is not her fault that she is muscular and tall, but that does not change the fact that she has betrayed our dynasty." "And what do you propose?" the king asked. "I am here. I am beautiful, and I have many suitors waiting. Revoke Amaka's birthright and name me your successor. Betray your sister, my firstborn? Do you not feel ashamed of that?" The king reproached. "Your proposal is wicked." "How can you say something so cruel?" he retorted. "If you know what is good, get out of my sight before I increase your punishment." "But, father, you must be realistic. We should not leave the throne to someone who will never marry," Precious insisted. The king replied, "Amaka has a friend with whom she has been talking in the forest. Instead of rejoicing in this, you are plotting against her." "How many times have I told you? You had better not speak to me like that," said Precious. "If you don't listen to me, get out of here before your punishment increases," the king warned her. Precious felt frustrated and thought, "You can't be so naive. You're banking your entire kingdom on the possibility that Amaka, who has never had a suitor, will marry a hunter. Allow me to meet Amaka's friend, but your punishment remains the same." When Amaka returned from seeing Dyke, she heard screams in the king's room and ran in. "Is everything all right, father?" she asked. The king, not wanting to arouse suspicion, replied, "Your sister simply misbehaved." "Okay, father," Amaka said as he walked away. "She wants to ask you something." "Your friend Dyke, right? I want to see him at the palace," Amaka continued. "I'd like to meet the man who has made her so happy." "Okay, I'll bring him tomorrow," the king said, smiling. The next day, Amaka went to the forest to meet Dyke. When she arrived, she saw that Dyke had a bicycle. "I didn't know you had a bicycle," she said. "There are many things you don't know about me. But I know you don't know how to ride a bicycle," Dyke replied. "How would you know I've never ridden in one?" Amaka asked. "You're the princess. I'm sure you've always ridden in chariots." "So I thought I'd teach you how to ride today," Dyke said. "Okay, I'm ready," Amaka replied. Dyke spent most of the day teaching her to ride. At one point, they both lost their balance and fell to the ground. They looked into each other's eyes and Dyke began to confess his feelings. "Amaka, these months together have been wonderful. I have fallen completely in love with you. Will you marry me?" he asked, holding up a wooden ring. Amaka, blushing and with tears of joy, replied, "Yes, I will marry you." The two then shared a passionate kiss. Amaka noticed something familiar about the ring. Dyke explained that he had carved it from the tree he was trapped in. "My father wanted to meet you sooner, but now that you're engaged, It's even more important, Amaka said. Dyke agreed, but first revealed a surprise. I discovered a possible remedy for your condition at a forest shrine. It is said that if you break an egg there on a full moon, your wish will come true, Dyke said. Amaka, excited, hugged him. Incredible. My father will be delighted to hear it. Then let's go find him, Dyke suggested. The two of them left the forest, this time by the public road of the village. The villagers were surprised. What is a handsome man doing with a beastly-looking princess? They commented, while some laughed. At first, Amaka felt bad, but as she looked at Dyke, she found calm, knowing that her opinion was the only one that really mattered. They continued walking to the palace, where Precious watched them arrive. He hid to listen to their meeting with the king. Entering the palace, they both knelt before King David, who asked them to rise. You have finally brought your friend, he said. Yes, Dad. This is Dyke, the noblest man in the village. But he is no longer just a friend. The king, puzzled, demanded an explanation. Dyke introduced himself. Your Majesty, today I asked your daughter to marry me, and she accepted. Hearing this, the king could not help crying with happiness. Don't worry, you can count on my support for your wedding. But I also have good news, Dyke continued. I found a cure for his condition, but it is in the evil forest of Agba. The king worried. Are you sure? Many have entered and have not returned. I promise to protect your daughter, Dyke assured her. The king optimistically gave them his blessing and offered guards for their protection. Amaka and Dyke happily accepted. Meanwhile, Precious, who was listening to everything, felt overcome with sadness. My whole plan has failed, he thought, before deciding to act quickly. By the time Amaka and Dyke left, Precious had already declared war on their union. The next morning, she escaped to the palace of a friend, the sister of a feared witch, to try to ruin their engagement.